Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be continuing my milk analysis videos. Today I will be going over the entirety of milk outside a bag of milk. I will first go through the normal sequence and then I will show you all of the endings. I just want to give you a disclaimer before we start. I am only a psychology student. I am by no means a professional. Please do not use this to diagnose yourself or take this very seriously. Secondly, I live very close to an airport, so my audio quality might not be the best. Let's dive right in. So this really shows that we were right in our previous analysis. She definitely suffers from some form of psychosis or schizophrenia because seeing figures really is a big symptom of those illnesses. This is really bizarre to me because it just kind of shows that she is very paranoid as a person. I believe that she definitely suffers from some form of anxiety, and her immediately thinking there is danger behind a closed door really confirms that for me. And she's trying to rationalize those feelings right here, saying that she is sure that there's no corpses in the kitchen, but you can see that she's not entirely sure of herself right there. Yeah, this really shows again. She's overthinking a lot. It's another symptom of anxiety. So this tells us that Milk 2 plays directly after Milk 1, because the milk we bought in Milk 1 is still lying on the table in this game. So this all takes place in one single day. She went on a tangent about milk. She personified it. Which is definitely also a sign of something not being entirely right. Okay, so I let that entire sequence play first for a reason, because it's just quite bizarre, right? So what I think happened there is our protagonist here hallucinated, obviously. What about? Well, what I think really happened is that her mother, which is the creature, figured out that she had drunken milk, which is something she's most likely allergic to, and that's why she injected her with an EpiPen, which is the big claw. I am not entirely sure what the neck scratching is about. That might be an entire hallucination on its own. It might be because she was grabbed by the neck by her mother. I'm not entirely sure, but I am a firm believer that that section was her mother injecting her with an EpiPen, at the very least. So here you can really see that we were right in our first video. She definitely has been prescribed some stuff, probably an antidepressant, maybe something for allergies and some other things. I'm not entirely sure what those are right now. So this confirms that definitely one of the pills that she has to take is a sleep medication. This is another sign of hallucination where she invents her own pills. So I just want to say, not taking your prescribed meds according to how they are prescribed to you is really, really bad for you. It can cause all sorts of side effects or withdrawal effects. Please do not do this. Please take them as prescribed. So I believe all these effects here are a result of the hallucinated medicine that makes her hallucinated pain go away. And probably also part of this is the EpiPen that is working in her body. So this is where we, as the player, start coming into the story. And I believe this, again, is something made up by her mind. So right here, it doesn't really matter what we choose story-wise, because it will all turn out the same. This to me is really interesting because what this could point towards maybe is bipolar disorder, where she feels really, really depressed in 1 minute and then the other hour she's really, really happy. However, this could also be a symptom of something else, but I just want you to be aware that that is one of the symptoms for bipolar disorder. And here you can see that she's starting to doubt herself again. Well, they're not really burning holes in them, but I understand what she means by that. And this goes to show that she actually cannot properly function without the medicine. Because as soon as she takes over control, it doesn't go very well. This is another one of those tangents that we've seen before in Milk 1. It seems to be some sort of coping mechanism for her. Yeah, this really shows that she just cannot function properly in, like, regular society, because even with medications, going out to buy milk is really challenging for her, which is, yeah, it just shows she cannot properly function in society as she is right now. And then we're back at the pills. Yeah. This is a very good representation of what happens if you go cold turkey on medicine. It might make you feel good about yourself for a little while, but then after a little time, the withdrawal effects start kicking in, and you will feel even worse than you did before. So one thing I would advise, if you do want to get off medications, talk about it with your psychiatrist. Make a plan to slowly start building down on the dosage that you have so that you eventually will be able to live again without taking your medications. Yeah, this sentence right here, chasing away the unpleasant visions that keep floating up in my memory, is definitely a sign of PTSD, because flashbacks is a huge part of PTSD. So that was another good thing we spotted in the previous video I made. I love her shirt, by the way, because it clearly is anti-O, which was a huge theme in the previous game. So, trying to organize your thoughts like this is not a bad thing to do necessarily. However, in this girl's case, it goes even further. You'll see in a second when we get further into the game. However, it's a good coping mechanism. However, she hallucinates these fireflies to be real. Yeah, even we as the player point out here that her behavior is very unstable, which I absolutely agree with. She definitely is afraid to be alone, as we as the voice pointed out before, and she also acknowledges here that she does in fact need the help of the medicine. This is another sign that points towards OCD for me, because she said, if I don't finish my thoughts, something is going to happen, which is compulsive behavior. So this is a flashback, and in this scenario, we play as the mother's voice. And right here you can see between these two options, did he bring milk? And the only male figure that is in this series is her father. So what we can probably conclude from this is that her dad forced her to drink milk, probably to try make her tolerant towards it, or maybe for more malicious purposes, but I do not know that for certain. No, she's stuck in a loop, you can see. This is another sign of either autism or OCD, where everything has its own place, and if it gets moved from where it belongs, something bad is going to happen. The structure is something that she has control over, and this is one of the very few things in life, probably, that she can control, and she desperately wants to cling on to that. This is another sign of anxiety in my eyes. I don't really have a lot to say about it, but there's definitely a lot of different small things that point towards an anxiety disorder. So in this point of the game, your choices do really matter. What you witnessed in the flashback earlier is called First Death, and that is one of the deciding factors for the ending you will get. Right now, I am not entirely sure what gives you what ending, but for this route, I will go through every single item in her room and see what she says about it. So either she was hallucinating those cockroaches, or, which in my eyes is more likely because she mentioned earlier that the building is kind of falling apart, is that they live in a very run-down apartment. Yeah, this again confirms that she lives in a very rundown apartment, and that she actually does not really have any fun memories. So the radio does not do anything, it just plays different music, which right now I want to avoid. I will save this one for later. Alright, so what else do we have? That implies that she's probably tried to climb out through the vent before. Yeah, this confirms again that there's definitely signs of OCD, because She thinks that if she removes these dead plants, that something bad is going to happen to her. That definitely confirms that there is some sort of schizophrenia going on with her, because there are shadow figures and also voices talking to her in her head, which are main symptoms of schizophrenia. So she lost track of time there. We cannot touch this right here. These are empty milk cartons that we've drunk. So it's a bit strange that the only thing she has is a sleeping bag and not a regular bed. It's slightly concerning. So over here we have some items left. I will do the umbrella first. Yeah, nothing much to say about the bin there. Alright, let's look at the pill bottles. Yeah, this is where she kind of realizes the consequences. That was one of the fireflies. So over here you can see that her mom definitely has at least part of her interest at heart, where she wrote down the pill instructions. So we have a few options left here. I'll go with the cabinet first. We'll do the notebook first. She definitely has problems decision making, accusing us of being dyslexic while not really understanding the situation herself, so this may be projecting onto us. So this whole section, I decided to play the entire section first, shows that she probably uses her art book to draw things that she either hallucinates or traumatic memories from the past as a coping mechanism, which can still be really triggering to her when she looks back on them. So that is most likely why she does not want to see the older drawings. So this school that she talks about is probably some sort of institution where she can stay night and day, maybe a boarding school. So before I click that and move on to the next topic, this schoolback sequence shows that she did in fact go to school, but that her dad removed her from the curriculum for God knows what reason when he was still alive, because we need to keep in mind that by the time Milk 1 plays, her dad has already died. And he probably also forced her to drink milk again when they got home. Yeah, this goes to show that her memory of her final school day is sad, and that makes a lot of sense because she did seem to enjoy it there, and that just got ripped away from her, probably along with the only social interaction that she had. Probably encouraged using the laptop because she did not have any social interaction anymore, and probably also not much to do at home. This is where things get interesting, because clearly she had a lot of, like, online contacts with people. The only problem is that she doesn't believe those people are real. Which is actually pretty much a very childish understanding of the internet. So it's pretty obvious that she had a very, very terrible experience on the internet with someone. It's just not entirely sure who or what happened just yet. She is absolutely, obviously, very annoyed by this. Alright, so I believe apart from this little thing right here, we should be finished. That is a very pessimistic way to look at it, I suppose. So, this is most likely a result from the experience online. I believe that she has most likely been a victim of, at the very least, cyber stalking, maybe stalking in real life, because of what happened on that laptop. Yep, this is another parallel with the first game. As you can see, the moon is full tonight, and it's an O shape. this is another point that confirms to me that she is suffering from paranoia, because she basically believes that everything in the entire world is out to get her. Yeah, this is another point that shows me that these memories are absolutely PTSD flashbacks. It's a funny way of insulting someone without knowing it, I suppose. Yeah, as I thought. Cyberbullying, cyberstalking. This definitely added to her paranoia, and I believe this is probably one of the more traumatic memories in her life. So this is the title drop of this game. And this is yet another sign that points towards an anxiety disorder and also OCD. Yep, that's pretty normal after a week of pretty much not sleeping. This kind of insinuates that the period of insomnia is a big cause of her symptoms of the hallucinations and the schizophrenia. So this is what triggers your ending, so we'll see which one we got, and then I'll go over every single one of them. So far, this is obviously a parallel to the first game. I'm going to play the rest of this ending first before I talk about it a little bit more in depth. this is of course the same analogy that was put in Milk 1 about ice cream. So this is one of 5 endings for the game. I will just let the credits play while I talk about it. What I think happened here is that the endings are based on failed therapy sessions. So for this specific example, they probably tried a form of treatment where you, with your psychologist, go over a certain scenario that you yourself have been in and change things along the way that you would have done different. For example, in here, she would not have waited so long in line fumbling with the cashier, stuff like that. She would have done that differently. I would probably share this under cognitive behavioral therapy, most likely, because in cognitive behavioral therapy, you really try to change the way your brain thinks, so you go in consciously, counter some thoughts, and go over situations to practice how to react to certain things. And then you go out in real life to get some exposure therapy to implement what you've learned. So in this case, she probably imagined herself to be the boy and then went along with that scenario until we got to the point where she, in the first game, was like, "You don't help me anymore," which is the bad ending. So it clearly did not go well in that therapy session. I will now go over the other 4 endings one by one, skipping, of course, the beginning and going straight to each ending. So from the get-go, it's pretty clear that she found a phone in her room and she's now texting a pizza delivery automated response number, but she does not know that this person is not real and doesn't really read what she's saying. Here she kind of points out that she sometimes gets stuck in thought loops, which is also, if I remember correctly, exactly what happens in this ending. So this basically now is turning into an existential crisis fueled by her thoughts, which are obviously irrational. The shopkeeper in the picture is obviously very confused as to what's going on, probably just like us, the player. Yeah, this is again just a negative downward spiral in her mind, going back to the same topic over and over and over again. See, it goes back to everything being empty and there not being a door constantly. Something that's interesting is that this ending is actually in color instead of the red-purple scheme that the entirety of the game is. So that might suggest this happened before her father died, because she mentioned in the first game that she started seeing everything in red after her father died. Yeah, this again, she is just looping and looping and looping. So this ending seems to signify that she's having a mental breakdown of sorts. She pretty much can't take the thoughts anymore, I think, is what she's trying to say. Although they do keep her company, so there's this dichotomy between the two. Like, are they bad? Are they good? And she doesn't know. And here is when she kind of snaps out of the loop. It probably is a trigger of sorts. So that was the second ending. Definitely has to do with some sort of mental breakdown where she snaps out of it after seeing that stop sign. I'm not entirely sure what caused it, but I don't think that's necessarily important here. Alright, we have arrived at the third ending. So let's have a look, shall we? So right from the get-go, one sentence I want you to keep in mind is, I wonder what the others at school will think. So you can see that her face starts changing shape, or at least it seems that way, but obviously it is her imagination and maybe part of hallucinations. I'm going to start skipping through the dialogue a bit faster because it's the same every time. So you can see that they pretty much progressively get worse. So what I think is going on is that her classmates are saying horrible things about what she looks like, and she internalizes this, and she imagines or hallucinates those things to be real every morning when she looks in the mirror. And that's pretty much what this ending signifies. So I'll just start working through these. So this obviously, by the way, took place in the time when she was still going to school. So this was also before her father died, which is why it's in color. Right here's where it changes, and what you can see what happens is that she does not have a face anymore in the mirror, and this could be a coping mechanism from her side, because if she doesn't have a face, they cannot say anything negative about it, which means that she will also not have to look at horrible depictions of herself in the mirror created by her own mind. And at the end there, she was not even looking at herself anymore, which is like the extreme of that coping mechanism. I personally do not think that is a good coping mechanism at all, but it's probably the only help she had. I don't think she was being treated for bullying. I don't even know if her teacher noticed. I don't know if her parents noticed. So this ending is one of the more straightforward ones, in my opinion, because you can clearly kind of see at least that it has to do with school time. Okay, we have arrived at the fourth ending. This one is probably my personal favorite, so let's see what this one has to offer, shall we? So the only instances where I can think of a solitary confinement room like that, because that's pretty much what it is, right? Is if she had been put in a mental asylum or in psychiatric care, where they put her in solitary confinement because she may have done something wrong in their eyes. Since this one is green, it also signifies this happened before her father's death, so this is probably another failed treatment attempt. Yeah, this goes to show that she was stuck in that room for way too long, if it did happen to be a solitary confinement room. This is a very common nightmare people have, by the way, where you try to reach something, but it seems to move away from you at the same pace or even faster. In this case, she probably experiences it like this in the nightmare because she was unable to go out of this room on her own accord when she was stuck in there. So now there is a voice. And up until later, it will be a bit unclear what voice that is, but I'll come back to that later. So this part, this voice keeps asking her how she feels, and that might be yet again part of the failed therapy sessions, because it's really common for psychologists, especially at the start of a session, to ask how you feel and how you have been feeling. This is a very real question. Why do people do that to each other? I think the solitary confinement in most cases is very unnecessary, and it is just a very inhumane practice. So this is where things get most interesting, because there is someone talking to them, saying pretty similar things as to what we were yelling when we were still behind that door. Exactly, if you look here. Someone clearly wants me to find and help them, maybe they're hurt. So you can clearly see the parallels. It's almost like right now we are at the other side of the door, hearing our previous self yell and beg and cry behind the door, calling out for help because we probably just fell on our face again and now we're hurt. So what I think this ending signifies, again, is some sort of loop. She is hearing herself over here. And she is afraid of herself right here. Yep, this is exactly the same thing as was said to us when we were behind the door, so it's really likely that this silhouette was us when we were still trapped in the room. now we're kind of back at where we started, because now we are running away from something instead of towards something, but the distance between the two is never changing. You could maybe see this as her running away from herself, trying to bury everything that happened to her in a sense. What this could mean is that the darkness that just emerged from the figure signifies our dark thoughts that I mentioned previously, that she was running away from it, and now here just now tried to fight them. But she decides to run away from them again right here. And now we are back again at the start of the sequence, back at the start of the loop, where we will attempt to run away from our dark thoughts again and end up all the way back into the same room over and over and over again. Okay, we have arrived at the final 5th ending. Let's see what this one has to offer, and once we have gone through that one, I will share my final thoughts on this series. So right now this seems just like your average nightmare, but soon we will see something that makes things a little more understandable. So, something interesting that this makes me think of is a lot of psychologists will refer to how your thoughts are organized in your head as being inside of drawers. And I feel like in this case, every thought is being signified by one pillar. So this passage right here is where things get more interesting. The super creature is mentioned and that her body is no longer herself. What I think is happening here is, again, another failed therapy attempt. This one probably signifying some sort of hypnotherapy where you lay down and get hypnotized. That's what the animation might be about. And the super creature most likely refers to the psychologist treating her. So this particular treatment reminds me of something, I do not know the English term for it, but basically what it consists of is you will be told to slowly ascend down in your mind, to really dig up a memory so you can focus on it and recount it in more detail. So you walk downstairs, maybe take a left turn, maybe take a right turn. I guess you could compare it to finding something in a memory palace. Yeah, these seem like questions a psychologist would ask, or at least variations of them. This is probably referring to how hypnotherapy can feel. So these thoughts seem like they might be partially things a psychologist could ask. However, it's probably mixed up with her own thoughts, because I do see her own thought patterns right in there as well. The more existential questions definitely are coming from her mind and not a psychologist. So these were all of the endings. I want to say something about all the endings in general. I believe I mentioned the word before, but in my perspective, all these endings are nightmares that she has. Probably mostly made up of failed therapy attempts or treatment. especially the first few endings, and then ending 5 and 4 on the top of my head. The phone ending, not so much. I believe that just shows that she is spiraling. This might have happened before she was put in therapy. And then the school ending where she looks in the mirror, I feel like that also probably happened before she was put in therapy. So then we have the 2 endings that still are in normal color. So that would be the grass field ending and the staircase ending we just saw. And then all the way at the end of the timeline we have our very first ending where we help the boy shop, because that one is in red and purple. I believe that is kind of the timeline of the endings, roughly. So, in conclusion, what do I think is going on with this girl? Well, I still stand by my first video, and I feel like this second game gave me a lot more in-depth insights on how this girl works. So she definitely suffers from a form of depression, anxiety, absolutely PTSD, as you could clearly see from the nightmares. Obviously, there is some form of schizophrenia and hallucinations going on. She's also receiving medication for that. There are a great deal of signs that show OCD behavior, maybe a hint of autism, but I don't necessarily believe she has that. I would need more information before I could make a claim like that. And lastly, I feel like there are a couple of signs that point towards something like bipolar disorder, so she might have that as well. One thing that this game does make very clear is that she is allergic to milk, which I think is a very interesting touch, especially because milk is the entirety of this series. It's called milk. Everything, the overarching theme is milk. It comes back everywhere. So clearly there is a lot of trauma surrounding milk, probably because of the EpiPens and her father probably forcing her to drink milk, all that stuff. So in short, this game really expands on milk inside a bag of milk. I would really recommend you play Milk Inside a Bag of Milk first if you want to play Milk Outside a Bag of Milk for yourself. Of course, again, I will give the disclaimer that I gave at the beginning. I am just a student. Do not take this as an official diagnosis. Do not use this to diagnose yourself, because you need to take this with a grain of salt. This is just my perspective, my understanding of the game, and that can be different for everyone. I do hope you enjoyed watching me comment on this video game, and if you have, please leave a like and a comment, and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. For now, stay safe, take care of yourself, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.